All right. Welcome, everybody. This is our online discussion of where spirituality and autism meet. And for those who don't know me, my name is Luminara Serdar, and I help families and kids with autism, and I help by really digging into the biochemistry of the body and helping these kids to release the toxic load that they have in their bodies. And when I've noticed when we do that, the behaviors actually improve. And I also, welcome, Jack. Hey, good to see you. Welcome to everybody. So I was just on a call. I'm on the board of directors of a nonprofit called Epidemic Answers, and we just had a board meeting today. And what Epidemic Answers is trying to do, they are accomplishing. If you haven't heard of them, it's epidemicanswers.org. They have a huge study going on. There are two things they're doing. One is a survey of parents about their kids who are sick, and it's kind of a long survey, but that data goes into a big database. And what they're doing is they're correlating exposures and experiences with how sick our kids are. So right now, the data I just saw is antibiotics, either prenatal when the mom takes it when she's pregnant, or with a kid, when the kid is really young or small or is a baby, that antibiotics really, really affects our childhood chronic illnesses. EMFs was another one. So what they're doing is they're actually getting the data together so we can prove this and show it. And their other study is they're actually going to take 12 kids with a chronic illness and make a customized individual plan for them, and then see how far the healing can go. And right now it's the projects are going really well. They have a couple kids in the program. So anyway, the reason I'm saying that is because, one, it's a great organization. They have tons and tons of information, so you can check that out. And secondly, we were just talking about, let me pull it up. We were just talking about the fact that, let me find my note on it. I just wrote it. Right, that some kids on the autism spectrum or that can't communicate, can't get their words out, they're actually getting communication devices where they can now communicate with words. And what they're doing is this miraculous information is coming out, and they're saying, I have a headache, I have a stomach ache, I hurt, and instead of acting out as behaviors. So I just wanted to put that out there that I think we have really brilliant kids, and that if they don't speak, we don't think they have that much intelligence. And I think that these kids are actually super, super smart. And I'll get into more about that, why I think they're here. And I would love to hear why you think they're here, what's going on. But first, I want to say that this is going to be, I've targeted to be about an hour and a half. And if you have to leave at some point, you can catch the rest in the recording. So I really want to conclude within 90 minutes. And I'd love to start by kind of setting the space. And I want to do that by just all of us engaging in a brief meditation so we can kind of come in coherence and come together in this space. So I invite you, if you want, to close your eyes. I'm going to close mine. Oops, you know what? I think I need to pin myself for the recording. Just one sec. There we go. Okay. So you all are little pictures on the top of the recording, and I'll be the main event. And if one of you wants to speak, we'll highlight you. So let's invite you to, have your feet on the ground and sit upright and close your eyes. Or if that doesn't feel good, just have a soft downward gaze. And just start by noticing your breath. Notice your inhale, notice your exhale. Notice the parts of your body that are touching the chair. The back of the chair supporting you and touching your back, and the bottom of the chair, supporting your legs and your bottom. Maybe your arms are resting somewhere. Just notice your points of contact and that, we're supported. And now I invite you to deepen your inhales and exhales. And you can even do like a count, like a 4 count. So as you inhale, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and just hold for a beat. And then exhale at the same 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold a beat. And then inhale again. And it may not be 4 counts for you. It might be 5 or 6, or it might be 3. Doesn't matter. Just that even inhale to exhale, this kind of gets us a little bit grounded. So a lot of these techniques I'll choose from, I'm using from many energy modalities I've either been trained in, or from yoga, or from something. So you may recognize them. And now with your breathing on board, and maybe you're feeling a little bit more relaxation. Like how does your body feel? Right? How do your shoulders and neck feel? How does the rest of your body feel? Just notice if there's any areas that are, grabbing a little more attention than others through pain or tightness or tension, or maybe you feel really good somewhere. Just to notice that, get really embodied. And now I invite you to imagine that you have from your perineum, so that's the area that's at the very bottom of your torso. Imagine that you have a root, an energetic root that you're putting into the ground, like a tree root, right? And you grows from the chair down through the floor of your house, down into the ground, and it keeps going deeper and deeper through all the layers of the earth, water, sand, rock, lava, air, space, everything. Because it's energetic, it can go all the way down, 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 down into the earth, into the very, very center of the earth. If you're having a hard time, just pretend it's happening. Our minds are very powerful. And your root is growing down deeper and deeper until you get to the very center of the earth. And the earth is here to support us. It has many, many frequencies. And what I want you to do is imagine or become aware of the frequency of your root. You don't have to put a number on it, but your energetic frequency. And the earth has an exact matching frequency for you that's unique to you. So just allow those to match or come into resonance. So the frequency of the earth that's just special for you and your own root kind of vibrate together. And once you've found that, or maybe you even feel something in your body, allow that energy from the earth to come up through your root, all the way through all those layers you went down through. But now we're coming up and pulling up the earth energy into your root, into your body. And it's like a tree that pulls minerals and water up for the rest of the trunk and the leaves to help it grow. It's supportive, it's nutritive. So this is your energy from our Mother Earth coming into your body, spreading through your torso, through your limbs, up into your neck and head, just so it's all over you. And, maybe it has a certain density, color, smell, flavor, it will be unique to you. Just bring that in and feel it and experience it. And let's just take a deep breath into that. The other thing I feel like saying is just like, feel that in your heart space. Feel that kind of helping to expand the heart space, helping to connect all of us in this space. Like right now, I'm feeling a lot of love and compassion and real heart opening um, for everyone here and our kids. And actually, it extends further out. It's a little bit about the Buddhists, I can't remember what they call it, the compassion or the self. It's a prayer they do where we just give love to everybody in steps. So, all right. Whew. I just need to take a moment to have another breath there because I'm really feeling it. I'm feeling a little almost dizzy. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but that was awesome. Thank you for participating in that because I can feel your energy in that. I would like to start kind of the formal part by I think I want to say why I decided to hold this event. Um, I've done a lot of meditation and spiritual practices and energy practices over the years, and tons and tons of personal growth work and psychology and counseling, and you name it. I've done a lot. And I feel like all that work I've done is not just given me experience and accumulated knowledge, but I feel like it somehow connects in with my professional work of helping parents like you and helping kids with autism. And I have this theory, and this is, developed over the decade or more that I've worked with kids on the spectrum and met many kids and talked to so many parents, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds probably, that I believe our kids who either have an official diagnosis on the autism spectrum or have neurodevelopmental issues, or maybe if they don't even have a diagnosis, but they have something that isn't neurotypical, perhaps. I believe many of these kids, I can't say 100%, I believe they are coming in to these bodies. So I believe there's a soul that comes and makes an agreement, comes into the body and says, yeah, I'll do that job. All right. I'll do that job on earth. And they have a purpose. And I believe that, and you don't have to share my beliefs. I'm just sharing what drove me to this. I believe that these souls come in and they're like, yes, I'm going to take that job of contributing to changing humanity or changing the world. And then they come in the body and it's toxic and it's not functioning. It's like, kind of like uncomfortable. And it's like, whoa, what is this? This isn't what I signed up for, even though they did sign up for it. And I also think that kids with these, issues, and I'll call them neurodevelopmental or autism, even though there's a whole spectrum. I think they don't conform to our societal norms of training. And what I mean by that is, we have kids, we teach them things, they go to preschool, they go to school, they get indoctrinated into how our society works, and they follow the rules and they learn certain protocols of behavior. These kids don't learn that same way. They're not able to learn or become indoctrinated. And so we have to take special attention, to these kids. We have to pay special attention and do special things. And I think they're catching our awareness, right? We have to do something. We can't just follow the norm. I also believe these kids, part of their mission is to bring us back to nature and bring us back into our hearts and into our, I think the true value of humanity, which is connection and heart and feeling emotions. So these are just some ideas I've had over the years. And in meeting with kids and talking to parents, it's just that's how that solidified that belief. Again, you don't have to share that. And I'm sure there's way more than I can possibly conceive that could be going on. So I just wanted to say that. what else do I want to say? Yeah, I guess that's how I came to believe this. And I think that our kids coming, it's not just kids with autism, but I think we're paying special attention to them because they don't conform. So I think there's a lot of souls coming in that are really meant to help humanity. My question is always how, where are we going? What are we meant to do? Because our society, I believe the world is in a dire state of needing a lot of help, kind of gone downhill. And our reality doesn't feel like reality to me. Doesn't feel like, I don't know, just feels like layers of different things, and it's not true reality. And I believe that my working with autism and kids with autism is somehow connected to my greater spiritual practice and my other things I've done. So I'm trying to understand personally, my personal thing is I'm trying to understand where this all fits. And I don't think I will for a while, and that's okay. What I'd like to do is ask some questions and start a discussion. And if you guys know how to use almost everyone knows how to use Zoom these days to raise the hand button when I'll ask for a couple people to speak on different things. And when you do, we'll highlight you on the video and just hear what you have to say. So first, I would love to have you just consider a few things. So one, how did you come here today, right? Like, why were you attracted to this? And think about how your child with special needs has affected you. Like, most of us, maybe when we were brought up as children, we followed the rules, we went to school, we did all the, kind of neurotypical things that kids did. That's not happening now with all our kids. So how does this change how you thought you were going to be a parent? How did getting a diagnosis or suspecting autism or other developmental issues, like how did you feel when you first got that? I know a lot of parents are devastated, or, it's not what you expected. Did you reject the idea? Were you like, why me? Did you start researching like crazy? What can I do? Did your pediatrician guide you to do ABA or OT or speech, or say, sorry, there's nothing we can do, visit specialists? Did you think, oh my God, my life has completely changed, and sort of look at the trajectory of your life and how your child's life might look? Because I know, I have friends who had a child who was diagnosed with severe autism, and the pediatricians say, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Prepare to put him in an institution when he's 18. And she was like, her mommy told her, no freaking way. That's not going to happen. So I would love to open the floor to have some people share, if you're up for it. And remember, this is recorded, so you'll be in the recording, to share what it was like for you, like how you feel like your child has changed your life or the trajectory of your life, or how you feel like they, just what you feel about that, what you think about that. So if anyone wants to raise their hand and say, I would love to hear. And while I'm waiting for somebody, I just want to say that my son was born in 1998, and he wasn't diagnosed with autism, but I had antibiotics late in my pregnancy, and he had antibiotics. They thought he had, maybe baby spinal meningitis, and he had some interventions in the beginning and ended up in the NICU with antibiotics, and which I was devastated about. And I think that he had a lot of behavioral issues, a lot of tantrums. Despite everything, I thought I was doing right, conscious parenting, good eating, and all that could have been better. So that was my brush with autism. My son had other little soft signs. So I would say he's on the edge of autism. That's kind of where I put him. He had social stuff. He had fine motor. He didn't learn to tie his shoes till he was 7, and I forced him to. There's a lot of little things that I didn't know, but when I look back, I'm like, oh. And I feel that if I didn't vaccinate, and I feel that if I would have, I think he would have regressed. So that's just my little story. But it was difficult. I was a single parent, and it was difficult having tantrums all the time, and a little bit being judged by my friends and community. So is there anyone who wants to share? Sharon, yeah, let me unmute you. And then Kathy, I'll get you next. So we'll just take 2 people. So, oops, where's Sharon? There you are. Carmela, would you highlight Sharon with me, please? Thanks.
Hello.
Hi, Sharon. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm not a speaker, but I'm a grandma. I got custody of my grandson when he was 3 days old, and I still have him. And he was diagnosed when he was 16 months as severe autistic. I honestly didn't know anything about autism. Now that I realize, I believe my own 4 children are on the spectrum. I just thought I had difficult children. What brought me here is I did a lot of research. I do the sunrise program with him. I do a lot of natural things. I learned how to do Reiki. I use crystals. I do everything natural, which has brought me more and more to kind of where you're at. And I was told that Kingston and I made the deal that we were coming to this earth together. Where my daughter fits in, I'm not sure, because she's still around, but there's issues there. So I'm just so interested, and I want to participate in anything that can help me go further.
And Kingston's your grandson?
Yes,
How old is he?
he's 9.
Okay.
And
Great.
he's come a long way. He actually, once he started talking at 6, he got a communication device, but then he started talking, and he's very, very intelligent. He can read better than I can. He can spell words way better than I can. But you can't have a conversation with him. He doesn't wake up and you say, "How are you today, bud?" He repeats whatever you say. He knows every song there ever was because he watches YouTube, and then he can repeat it.
Mhm.
So we those kind of conversations, but not your typical conversation.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Sharon. This is what we're finding is that these kids are super, super intelligent. I can maybe tell you some stories later, but thank you so much for having the courage to share.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would like to take Kathy. Wait, okay. Here we go. Oops, where'd you go, Kathy? I don't see you anymore. There you are. Okay, your hand went down, so you switched around on me. Okay. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yeah, hi, Kathy.
Hi, Illuminara. It's been a very long time, but I have to tell you what drew me here to you is I was just so grateful that you're actually pulling these 2 topics together because they are one. And you were one of the guideposts on my journey to let me know that this was really a spiritual journey, more than one of just focusing on healing, get it done, and get back to normal, because that's not what this is. We're here starting a new movement. And these kids are brave souls, courageous warriors coming in saying, we're going to wake everybody up. Let's get this thing moving because we have changes to make.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's time. I mean, if we don't, the human body is just not going to withstand the toxins in our environments any longer, and we're not going to be here. So the change has got to come. And they were the little ones that decided to do it. And like the last lady so nicely said is, yeah, I do believe that we agreed to be here together. Because I know for my son, who is 8 right now, our
He's
paths,
8. Oh my God.
he's 8, our paths of expansion and service are very divinely interwoven. And it's been just a miraculous transformation of our lives and the way we think and the way we look at things and with what we do. We have stepped outside of mainstream, and I couldn't be happier about that. Not that what we're going through is easy, because it is not by far. It's a very, very difficult path, but it's authentic, it's true, it's getting us back to what really matters. And there is no better medicine than that. And healing is coming through because of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You
So
said it so nicely. I like the way you put it.
thank you. Thank you. So the change in life has been everything, right? Because we just don't do anything mainstream. Different friends have fallen away, family, keeps a distance, and we have peace in our lives, and we do everything natural and healthy, and we're just following the flow of the energy.
Good for you. Thank you so much
Mhm.
for being courageous and sharing. I appreciate that. I can't believe he's 8 already. Oh my God. Where have the years gone? And you just said everything so beautifully. Thank you. I would love to take one more. Tanya, I see your hand is up. So let's bring you in. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Tanya. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I just came from working out, so my workout clothes. Let's see, I have a lot to say about this. I have 3 boys, and I actually have 2 of my sons are on the autism spectrum. So my oldest, who is 20 years old, and my youngest, who's 13. So I've been dealing with autism for a long time now. I would say that my oldest son would be considered high functioning. It's even it's a little hard to tell that he's on the autism spectrum.
Mhm.
He's actually going to college and things like that, drives a car. Um, you know, Obviously, when you find out that your child has autism, first of all, I didn't know anything about it when he was first diagnosed. And I've gone through the years of ABA therapy, speech therapy, etc. But when my 3rd son came along, he was actually a surprise baby. And what a surprise. This is where the spirituality aspect comes in. First of all, before he was even born, the doctor basically told me that he was not a viable pregnancy. And she was going to have me go and have a D&C.
Wow.
And I begged her to do another scan because I felt his presence. And I said, I know that there's a baby in there. And she scanned me and the baby was there. And she said, typically, she normally doesn't do a scan like that. And usually they just do a D&C. But because I begged her to have another scan, there was a viable pregnancy. And so that was the first thing that came into play. When he was born, he was typical developing. And then, of course, like a lot of kids, he regressed when he was about 18 months old. So he's been a lot more severe on the spectrum, mainly speech and sensory issues. But, I do have to say at first, it was extremely difficult for our family because we had to go through this yet a second time. And there was a lot of loss and a lot of hopes dashed. But through all of this, now that he's 13, he's still considered probably moderately on the spectrum, but he brings so much happiness to our life. My husband constantly says he's the happiest person we have ever met. And it's true. He wakes up smiling giggling, laughing. He wants hugs from people. Everybody that meets him lights up because he has a spirituality about him. It's just an innocence and nothing but spirit. He loves to go on walks in nature. So he really brings, that aspect to our life. And it's definitely provided me with a lot of life lessons. I would say the number one is acceptance. I have had the hardest time accepting that I have not just one, but two children on the spectrum. And how hard it's been. I just want the easy life, and everybody else has it so easy. And why can't my child be this way, X, Y, and Z? And so, I'm gearing up here, but it has been a journey of acceptance.
Mm.
And then once I have started fully, truly accepting him and seeing the gifts that he brings, my life has transformed, I have to say, in a positive way. It
Wow.
really has. But it's taken me a long time because as also like a health practitioner, I want to fix and doing everything right, the diets, the supplements, the naturopaths, the therapies, therapy after therapy after therapy. But I have to say, in the end, a lot of it is letting go and accepting who your child is and the gifts that they bring.
That's super powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I had one thought that cycled through my head when you were speaking is like, God gave you one, but you didn't get it. So he gave you another. I don't know if that's really it, but that's where my mind went. Like, oh, she hasn't done the work yet. Let's give her another.
Yes.
Another one,
Yes.
So I'm so glad that you've reached that point of acceptance, and I'm so curious what the future will hold for, what his role is for, we know what one of the roles is, right? To bring in acceptance in this shift, but what else? Because he's 13, but what's he going to do as he gets older, and, what else
Exactly.
do you
What
think
else?
about that?
I think about it all the time because I can see with my oldest son having gifts. There's lots of gifts there that he provides society. The youngest one, it's definitely more of a spiritual gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a physical, tangible thing.
Yeah.
And he really does bring happiness to the family. Even though, we literally called him the anchor. Because he's held us here. We don't have the flexibility that other families do. They can just go wherever and do whatever they want. But there's freedom with his gifts because of the happiness factor and looking at life differently from a different lens.
That's a key. I think this is one of the things our kids help us do. Like we're not just following the normal, American or whatever society you're in, social or rules. I'm not quite sure how to put it. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. I'm gonna we're gonna close that for now. And Brooke, I see your hand up. I'll get to you in a minute. I want to cover something else first. So I definitely want to hear from you because I know you have stuff to say. All right. What I wanted to share is some of the things I've noticed with kids, and this might spur some more discussion. I've noticed what I call superpowers in our kids. So I'll give a couple examples. I won't name any names. I have a mom a friend of mine who, she noticed that her son had some super hearing powers. So they had a map of the United States puzzle where each of the states were a different puzzle piece. I remember having that as a kid too. And he would just take the puzzle pieces and drop the same state, drop on the floor. And finally, one day his mom thought she knew what was going on, and she picked up like 3 of the puzzle pieces and had him turn around and dropped one. And she said, "What state was that?" "Texas." He got it right. And then she dropped another one. "What state was that?" "Mississippi." So he could tell by the vibrational sound of the piece that hit the floor which state it was. He was learning those. So imagine the acuity of his hearing, to be able to note those different vibrational levels from, a piece of plastic hitting the floor. That was a different shape. So that's one thing. I've also talked to parents whose kids, they don't speak, but they can sing incredibly, a little bit, maybe like Sharon, I don't know if he's singing as well, but it seems like singing comes easier than speaking. So really great tone, really great memory for the words, of course, amazing memory. I had another client, and I actually met this boy, and I think he was 11 at the time, and he used a communication device. He didn't have good movement, motor control, so his mom would hold his arm while he would type out on an iPad. Took a little while, but actually he was quite fast at it. And he told his mom, so he had a bunch of healing, a lot of toxins removed through homeopathy when he was quite young. And then when he sort of got to a level of cognition where he could communicate and learn the communication device, he told his mom, he said, "I'm a master of masters and I'm here to work with you, but first you need to learn some lessons and pass a test." So this is an 11-year-old boy telling his mom that he is here to work with her, and that, get your act together so we can work together, so to speak. When I looked into his eyes, it was like I was looking back through time into the Big Bang. Like I could see just the depth and the love. And I just getting a little choked up. I just fell in love with him right there. I had another mom tell me that her daughter, who also used a communication device, said that there was a network of telepathic autistic kids. She called it WKOA, like radio station W, Kids of Autism. And that these kids were constantly communicating and trying to get their parents together, maybe for a movement, for awareness, I don't know what. So these are just different experiences I've had over time. There's probably a lot more I'm not thinking of. Those are kind of the ones that stand out to me. And so what I encourage people all the time to do is look for your child's superpower. What are they amazing at? What skill do they have? And it might not be a skill that we find useful, like hearing the sounds of those different states, the different plastic pieces, and understanding, being able to discern the different vibrations. I feel like at some future point, that's going to be a useful skill. Is it right now? Well, I don't know. I don't know where we apply that, but I feel like these kids are even ushering in the future of using new skills. So that's one thing I love to ask is, can you identify your child's superpower? And then, and we can share a little bit on that if any of you guys have noticed that and have anything to say about that. So that's one thing we'll ask. And let me just say a couple of other things first. So just given that experience with that 11-year-old boy I told you about, who's a master of masters, and he told me things about myself. When I met his mom and she went home to say, "Hey, I think we need to go work with Luminara," he knew before she told her. He said, "Yes, we have to work with Luminara," and she hadn't said anything, even my name. And then he knew that I was going to be on a trip, and he told me something that would happen on that trip. And nobody told him I was going to do that. Like that was the next thing I was going to do after meeting with him. So I think he knew things, obviously. I feel like the kids who are coming in, like Sharon, you mentioned, Kingston, and I have some other little ones, especially the ones who have a harder time communicating. I still feel they feel a lot of discomfort in their body. I feel like they're still really connected to the source, whatever you call it, God, spirit, the information field, whatever it is, I'll just call it source. And they're still connected to that oneness that, like that we've mostly lost, being indoctrinated as a human and kind of forgetting where we came from. forgetting about that wholeness from which we came. And I think I've seen also depressed kids, even little kids who are depressed because it's so hard to be in this body, and they kind of, why wouldn't you want to go back there? So that's another theory I have. And they're not fully grounded in their bodies because it's hard to be in these bodies. So that's another idea. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do that root grounding meditation, so that you guys could either facilitate that with your kids, or I feel like as parents, we're super connected energetically. And even if you did it with your child in the room, they might pick up on the energy of that. Let's see if I want to say anything else. Yeah, I think at this point, what I want to do is hear from different people. So we can talk about like what your kids' superpowers are, what you feel like your role is with your child. What I find is our kids are very, very sensitive and very reactive to our energies. So if we're angry, even if we're talking to them, like, okay, get your clothes on, we have to go to school, is one tone. But if you say, get your clothes on, like that energy is coming out louder than the words. So they'll react to that. Or if we're anxious, they'll react to that. They'll show our anxiety that maybe we're not showing. So I would love anyone who wants to speak about any of those topics. And Brooke, I'll start with you because you had your hand up. Is that okay? All right. So let's bring you in. All right.
Actually, this was not what I was going to say, but because of what you just mentioned, these children absolutely are mirrors of us, and what we're feeling, not necessarily what we're outwardly portraying. So when I first started working with you 3 years ago, I came to you out of fix-it mode, which, I felt there was something wrong with Carter, who's now 7. At the time, he was 4 when we started working with you. And I kind of started building I call it my toolbox or my toolkit of all the different specialists and doctors and things, mentors in many facets for Carter. And I was really coming at it from an angle of there's something wrong. I've got to do something to fix this, because he was engaging in self-injurious behaviors, just kind of, those things, the perceptions. When people tell you that your child is autistic, then you're labeled, the projections, perceptions, all of that. It took a long time to kind of peel back off of my mental capacity. And now where we are looking back. So starting 3 years ago, working with you, I was coming at it from an angle, I've got to get this the face hitting stopped. I've got to stop it. So now I realize I was beating myself up. This was a mirror of my internal feelings and what was going on inwardly. So I'm beating myself up, thinking I'm searching for answers. And it wasn't until I let that go that behavior, diminished. And there's physical aspects. Yes, we have physical bodies that need to be tended to. But I truly believe what everyone else shared today, that this is a new population that is helping us not just bring awareness to the differences that people have, but they're bringing awareness to how we perceive ourselves, how we feel, like inwardly digesting our feelings and choosing, how to respond. And I've had several different very wonderful mentors along the way. Actually, several or 2 that are with us today. So a participant and Luminara, both in this group have really helped me just kind of become more aware of things. And I'll give you another more graphic experience that, you know, my son would smear feces on our furniture, on our door, you know, like this is real life shit that happens, and it's not pretty. It's yeah, literally. And so of course I was coming at that from an angle of I've got to stop it, I've got to fix it. And you really have to feel into these things that happen in your life with your child and with yourself. Nothing's wrong or bad. Feel what you feel. That's when you kind of like get to the point where you can neutralize what you're experiencing. And it's so bizarre. It sounds so simple, also very complex, but it is real. You feel you're going through shit. Well, here you go. I'm going to show it to you on the walls, Mom. So, and that's big stuff.
Yeah, what a reflection. Thank you, Brooke. That reminds me of another story that a friend of mine shared with me, which was he had twin sons with autism. They were preemies and whole story around that. But one of them or both of them, they would smear the poop from their diapers on the walls also. And the last time his son did it, smeared it on the window, and my friend went and drew a heart in the poop. And I think they were also doing sunrise. And that was the last time that happened. It almost feels like it's an attention getting thing, but you don't get what they want you to attend to. Like you said, like, you know, it's awareness. And then once you get that awareness, then they're on to the next thing to, you know, tell you, you know, become aware of this now. And I love the way you said to feel your feelings. You know, I think that's one of the reasons we come here as humans, is to go through that range of feelings. So, that's brilliant. Thank you, Brooke. I see Sally. Come on up.
Hi. Well, before I forget, one thing to add on to that topic is it doesn't seem necessarily like they're ever reflecting back what's in that moment in particular, because every time my son reflects something back to me as my mirror, like Brooke was saying, when it gets neutralized, so I know I've hit it, it's usually something from a lot of times my childhood, or a lot of times, you know, my divorce or something like that. And I'll know that that's what it is when I think about it, feel it, and then I see my son, you know, just his whole body relax. So, but my son is 20 and, you know, more on the severe side. He was in diapers till about 11. And I have gone through the gamut of, you know, homeopathy and chelation and energy work and any biomed and ABA and sunrise and almost everything. And a few years ago when, you know, kind of the world shut down, I quit my job because there was no one to, you know, there was no place for him to go. And he now doesn't leave the house at all. However, quitting my job and it just being him and I for the last 3 years has made me 100% surrender and abstain all my time. And when I say all my time, it's just him and I typically in the, and you know, so we've been doing this work head on, where, you know, he shows me something, we integrate, whatever. But I have, at this point, it's so interesting because I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, like I think everyone has, you know, because you just want your kids to be happy and healthy. But he, you know, and he didn't sleep. He would go, day, almost, people would think my son doesn't sleep for 3 days at a time, but he did. And that was even just, you know, a year and a half ago. And he's not taking any supplements. He's not on any, he's not even, the only thing he's taking right now is zinc. And he sleeps he has there's a lot of challenges, but he's so much better. And I got to thinking about that before I got on this call, like what's happening. And our life isn't any easier, but he's guiding me in every single way, from the business I'm starting to the people I'm connecting with. Every single thing, when I look at it, is orchestrated by him. He's not verbal in certain ways, but, and he doesn't, when you say, what does he do? What are his interests? You would say, well, nothing. I don't see anything. But when you look at the impact he has on everyone around him and how he's orchestrated our entire life, from moving across the state out into the country where I know no one, it's all done by him. So I think that a lot of times we just don't recognize, right, like what our kids are actually doing, because they're not doing it. A lot of them aren't doers. But yeah, they certainly are impactful.
I have this image of him like pulling all these strings in the background and like pulling the connection in and pulling, like he's just kind of orchestrating, like you said.
Yeah.
And like you guys are out here on the front stage, not realizing necessarily what he's doing, but just following, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you give one concrete example of like a connection that he orchestrated or something like that?
Well, yeah, the first person I met when I was getting ready to move out here, I was trying to find, like, how am I going to find, I need a caregiver to help with him because I don't have a job. How am I going to survive? And I reached out to this lady I found online. And long story short, that lady who I reached out to when I moved out here, her and her husband are just left. They came to this marina. I'm looking at a marina space. It's a really cool space above a marina on the lake that we live on, where I'm trying to start a 501c3 to make that space available for our community, for our kids. And so she and her husband are the ones that just did the walkthrough, provided the estimate, are going to help me, raise the funds for it. So I, never in a million years would I have been able to orchestrate all that on my own.
Where is out there? Where's the country?
I'm in Indiana.
Okay. So you're looking to make
we moved out. Yeah, well, so the thing is that here, right, my son doesn't leave the home, and I can't really have anyone come in because it gets him too upset, just people talking directly at him. And I can't really leave at this moment. So I've been feeling very isolated. And this space opens up, right down the street. It's this beautiful marina space. And, we can get there on a golf cart. It's right down the street. So it just gives me a whole nother space to dream about a place where he will eventually go. But in the meantime, I can also be helping all the other families as they utilize that space.
Oh, that sounds like a beautiful mission. And I thank you, Sally. And I just want to say that I love that orchestrating piece, and that, like you said, that our kids are not necessarily doers, but they're in the background doing. It's almost like a computer always running and doing stuff and making things happen, but we may not realize it. And I love that how you shared that connection, that connection with that woman made things roll along and made things possible. So we kind of never know what's going to come out of it. And I love your story. So his superpower is more hidden, right?
Yeah. He always gives me hints to make sure that I realize that he's very powerful. Like I was reading something about Bill Gates the other day. I was reading it, and he's in the other room, and he shouts out, or he yells and spells Microsoft. Just things like that, like where there's a very he's never said the word Microsoft. So it's never a one-to-one where if someone else was there, they wouldn't go, oh my gosh. But he does usually something like that every day, where
you're on the right track.
Yeah, or he'll type. We'll be in the kitchen and he'll be singing at the top of his lungs, and he wants me to be there, and I want to go in the other room, and he'll type into the Google search on his computer, "stay connected," and he'll leave it there for me to look at and just keep singing. And I'm like, so stuff like that.
Incredible. Oh, thank you so much. That was amazing. Is there anyone else who would like to say, oh, I see Karen. There's also a digital hand at the bottom that you can raise, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a hand there. But
I think it might be under reactions. You have to hit reactions and then it
oh,
says,
okay. Okay. All right. I'll try that next time. So a little bit different situation. My son is now, the son I'm talking about is now 34. And when he was growing up, we didn't have any inkling that he might be on the spectrum or near the spectrum because we didn't know anything about it. And I think that if he were to be tested, that he would have either been barely on the spectrum or just outside of it. But one of the beauties of that is that we didn't have a label. And if I had had a label, I would very definitely have been a fix-it person. And because we didn't have that, we were able to just thoroughly, enjoy the gifts that he had. And like you guys have said, it hit me early on, even though I was not such an open-minded person in my early adulthood, very science-based, and skeptical of everything. But I realized very early on that we were meant to be together. That if he had ended up in some other family, it could have just ruined him, and he wouldn't have been able to show these gifts that he had. And then also realized early on that there were past lives, because this person had obviously been around the block many times. And so that was interesting. His superpowers, what it made me think of when you were talking about that, one thing is that from a pretty early age, he would associate colors with emotions, and he could see auras. It took a while for us to realize, for him to say something. So we realized he could see auras and feel energy lines in the earth and communicate with trees. I mean, and so that was a big step for me and my husband to just even be open-minded to that and to learn from that and enjoy that. And a very bright boy. We homeschooled until he was in high school, and then he went to a small private school and did well, and did great. And his teachers, what we would most often hear is that Daniel doesn't speak very often, but when he does, everybody listens. Because I would say another one of his superpowers is to make these incredible connections. That he had this huge perspective, this huge world view, and to be able to see these connections that other people would not make. And even at the end of the day, I would ask him, how was your day? And my younger son would tell all about all these social things that were going on. And for Daniel, it was that he would connect what they were talking about in history and what they were reading in literature with his German class and make this connection that was just incredible. And then he had a hard time in college, because that's when the expectation hits of what are you going to do with your life? And like you were talking about, Luminara, he was very much not, I feel like we definitely stepped off the merry-go-round by homeschooling and just how we were doing things. But, he had no tolerance for anything where there was a hierarchy or a power structure or any of those things. Those were so worthless to him. And so just to cut it a little bit short, he became Catholic, which is not a part of our family at all, but it's something that it provided something for him. And he now lives in a Catholic lay community in rural Ontario, Canada, a community that's been in existence since 1947. There's 150 people who live there. Most of them are in their 20s and 30s, men and women both. They grow all their food. He's in charge of growing the vegetables. They tap their maple syrup, they heat with wood and cook with wood. And he's such a minimalist person. So he found a spot, he found a spot where he can just be who he is. And people, and I've talked with them before about that he leads just by being there, and people see him and they learn from that. And so anyway, hopefully it's a little bit heartening to some people that here is a person who I always wondered how he would find his spot in the world. In a different time and place, he would have been the guru on the mountain in the cave, and so he kind of found his cave in Canada, but with 150 other people. And yeah.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing that story. And I feel like at some point, what that community might be building and growing their own food and whatever, they might be a model for other communities when whatever collapses in our society, like
Yeah.
maybe he is contributing to that bigger picture in that way, and we just don't
Yeah.
know it.
Oh, he very definitely is. And that's the mission of this particular place, is that they get about 100 guests that come in during the year who stay from anywhere from a week to a year. And people can come regardless of what their religious beliefs are, and just have that time where there's no technology, and they're working to provide their food. They're helping this community, and it just helps them get their head together.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are satellite communities that have grown from this, that are all over the world, that have been inspired by this community. So yeah, it's very cool.
That's fantastic. One of the things that I've been very interested in, and since my son was 3 or 4 and I wanted to leave, I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, I was interested in intentional communities. And that's one of the reasons I moved to Eugene, Oregon, because it was way more community minded. And I feel like, and I studied, there's a book called The Fellowship for Intentional Communities. Well, now it's online, but back then it was, this thick book of hundreds of pages. And I took 6 months to read that whole thing and say, what communities do I most align with? And would I be attracted to? And, this area where I'm in had the most, but I feel like so I've been involved in the intentional communities movement for at least 20 years, and building very community oriented, doing community building and community connection exercises and things like that. So I think that's like, when everything shut down from COVID and people weren't connecting, I think, well, I have my own theories about, kind of the main orchestration of that, but that was a detriment to humanity, because we're tribal and we're meant to connect and be in community and cooperate, like this community he's in. So I think that's very, very important for humanity. But, and I love that, like, Sally wants this community of kids to live. So it's beautiful. I think that's where we're going. It feels maybe like it's backwards, like it's not technology, but I feel like that's how we're designed as humans in a way. So
Right.
I really appreciate hearing about that community and that there's satellites, because
Yeah.
I'm so community minded.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What I'd like to do now is, let me bring my notes back in front of me. So one of the things that I said we would do in this event is learn to connect with your child in a completely different way. Now, a lot of you've spoken that you do have these connections, but one of my trainings is an energy healing work, and I've done all these energy modalities. So there's a few things that I want to share that I'm hoping will be gifts and helpful for connecting with your child. Oh my gosh, I have so many. Let me see. I think one of the things, like Sally shared so beautifully, how her son, he must be telepathic, right? She's reading something about Bill Gates, and her son says, Microsoft, right? So he's obviously already connected with her, but how do we as parents be more connected? And especially with the kids who maybe have a little bit more difficulty being in their body. So one of the ways I like is just to share coherent breathing. So just at a quiet time in the day for your child, I know a lot of kids who move around and they're always moving. So maybe this is before bed, or, when they're really sleepy, is just to have some breathing together. And like that 4 count in breath we did and 4 count out breath, those that we can do, we can sit our kids down and ask them if they would breathe with us. So we all know they're intelligent, right? We know they're hearing us. We know they get it. Even if they don't hear the words, they feel our energy. So to just do that breathing together, let's say, for just a couple of minutes, let's do this breathing, and just come in breathing coherence, and you'll probably come in heart coherence. And that does a couple things. It not only connects you as the parent to your child, because they're probably already connected to you, but you know, it really creates this resonance, and maybe it's a quiet time that you as a parent, but both of you can really start to understand each other better. And I don't mean by verbally communicating, I mean just by feeling each other. So to practice that feeling each other. So that's one thing. I also love the energy ball. So you all can do this with me if you want. We usually kind of fire up the hands, right? Put an energy ball in the hands. So we started by clapping and then rubbing the hands together. Yeah, you guys want to do it? Rubbing, and you can kind of feel a little fire being made. And then you can actually feel, oh, wow, it's tingly and an energy ball. And then if you, yes, bring your hands, you can kind of make the ball bigger. And if you kind of push your hands in, you can feel the edges as if you have a sphere between your hands. So this is the energy ball. And this is a ball of chi, right? So we can, I've been recently doing this Qigong series of exercises. And at the end, we do this over what the Chinese call the dantian. It's kind of our energetic center, like kind of right around the belly button. And you can use this chi ball, this chi energy, to either sweep your child's aura clean, or to put it into their dantian, or maybe put it in their heart. Like use your intuition to see, and you can get them, you know, maybe you could get them to do this and do their own energy ball, and maybe you'll be surprised at what you see. If they can do that, and maybe they don't need to clap or rub, maybe they can just do it like this. I remember when my son was 6, he went to an alternative school, and I would come in and help the kids, and I would help the teacher in various ways. And I asked her if I could do these energy exercises with the kids. So she let me do this energy ball with them. And then we gave them paper and a bunch of crayons, and they drew with the energy ball what the colors were and what it looked like to them. So we can, you know, have them express it in different ways. And that's just one of the ways. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime later your kid came up to you when you're anxious and did this, you know, like, I don't know. I'm curious what happens when we do these things. And if you guys do this, you know, definitely write to me and let me know, because this is so exciting to me. So we can use it for their aura. We can use it to help with calm. We can use it in their heart. If they have a cold or a flu or something, right, we can do it over their sinuses. We could do it over their lungs. If they're constipated, maybe we do it over the belly. So there's different ways, like use it as a healing ball of energy. We have the breathing. We have the chi ball. Another thing I really love is body sweeping. So this is, you know, usually, and you could try this on a partner or someone first just to practice it. So your child's laying down, and you can put some energy in your hands if you want, but just really sweeping. You can touch their body or just be above their body, whatever they prefer. You know, some kids really like the pressure, some kids don't want to be touched, and to just sweep down the body. So you start at the head and go down all the way down to the feet, and maybe you'll feel the energy of their body, maybe you won't. And when you do it, you have an intention, right? So I feel like a lot of our kids they're super open energetically. And so they pick up whatever stuff is around all over the place. And Sally, this might be one reason why your son doesn't want to go out, right? It's just so assaulting to be out in the world. And this is a way to clean their energy field. So you just sweep down, and that's your intention, is to take out all the goopy, sticky energy, entity, whatever that isn't part of them, but that they've picked up along the way during the day. And so at night, just do that body sweeping. And then when I get to the feet, I really like to hold the ankles and the feet. I feel like holding the ankles is very grounding. It's been very grounding when someone does that to me. That's been my experience, to hold the ankles, hold the feet. And I also imagine all that icky energy maybe coming off, like as if you're in a car wash, like the dirt coming off the car. So imagine it coming off the outside of the body, imagine it coming from the inside of the body. And I tend to imagine it coming out the bottom of the feet. And then, so that energy just isn't floating in the ethers in the room. I actually have like an energetic garbage can and I put it in and I close the lid. Or you can send it to the light, send it back to God, to source, whatever you want to do. So that's another one that I think feels really good. And then 2 more. I like Donna Eden has a whole energy healing course, and one of the things she does is the zip up method. So imagine you have, and this is before you go out into the public or into where, you know, you might pick up these energies. So imagine you have like, you know, like a one-piece jumpsuit on, and you're going to zip it up the front. So I had a client do this with her 5-year-old because he would go to school and then just come back haywire and, you know, just pick up all these energies. And I said, well, before you go to school, why don't you do the zip up? You know, so what you're doing is you're zipping up their auric field, their energy field. So it's giving them like a little bit of a shield. So they're not picking up as much. And she would do this and she'd go zip up. And then like within a couple days, he's going zip up on his own, right? Zip up. So that's, you know, we can teach our kids that and the meaning of it, right? You're going to protect yourself from all those energies, zip up. So they have a technique to use on their own. You know, when they're ready. And then the very last one, this is a little bit more conscious parenting and something I learned when my son was little, to give your child special time. And I think sunrise is a lot like this. I can't remember who mentioned, maybe a couple of you mentioned sunrise. This is when I remember I interviewed Ron Kaufman from the Sunrise program in one of my summits, and he was telling me these things. And I was like, I did that with my son. I did that with my son. It's really giving special attention and special time and paying attention to your child and acting upon that. So this special time is where you set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever timing you want. You know, maybe you start with 5 minutes, but I can tell you your kid's gonna like try and grab on for more. So I would set a timer for my son and I would let him do whatever he wanted. He was in charge. And in the groups I used to do, we would actually have like a Saturday morning, you know, hour and a half thing where the kids would come and they would throw pillows at us and all the adults and chase us around. The kids were in charge. They got to have the sovereignty of the room and be the leader. And I think this builds confidence and it really gives your child a sense of themselves, who they are, like a strength. So during this time, I remember when my son was like 2, we would play around the train table. He loved Thomas the Train. And I would just do whatever he wanted. And he would tell me, you're Thomas, you're Percy, you're this. And I would just do whatever he did. It was, you know, sometimes it was super boring because I would do it for half an hour. But I really tried to stay and be present and be attentive. Like that's the key. That's why you set the timer for the time that you feel like you have the presence for. So if it's 10 minutes, you completely pay attention to your child for 10 minutes and do whatever they want. And you can tell them, you know, you're in charge. Tell me what you want me to do. This was the wrapping up of the special time, just to notice your child. And this is creating awareness. It's a practice to create awareness in ourselves and create awareness in our kids. And I feel like we are the teachers of our kids. And so the more we're aware, maybe they're more aware than we are, who knows? But we can keep teaching this awareness through our practice and through our demonstration of it. So I think that's the wrap up on the special time. I just want to say we have a few minutes. If there's any questions or last thoughts, or anyone who didn't share that would love to share something based on anything that was brought up today, you can raise your digital hand because I can't see all of you. And you do that by going to participants and then raise hand. You know, there's some people who are just kind of hanging out here and just curious if you have anything you'd like to say. Oh, I see a hand up. All right. I don't know, near Michael, how would I address you?
Oh yes, near is okay.
Near. Okay, great.
So I became aware of your talk because these are the questions which came to me the last couple of months, let's say. You know, what is the purpose in terms of, okay, I have got a autistic child now, and she's 12, quite old. And right from the beginning, when she was diagnosed, I wouldn't say I wasn't that down or frustrated or whatever. but now that she's a bit older, she seems to be with her hormones and things, becomes maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm more sensitive now, but it seems to become a bit more difficult. She's, I think her power or some kind of superpower is some kind of hearing, very sensitive in her hearing, extremely sensitive. So when we are around and want to talk, then she's constantly making noises so that we can't talk.
She's giving you a message.
So you're, and then we try to say, hello, look, your parents need to talk sometimes and things like that. But anyways, yeah, in general, yeah, this is, these questions came just up. Or what is and what is her power? What is she intending to do? What are we intending to do as her parents? Where are we going? And then this topic, spirituality and autism, that was of course catching my attention, because I'm also into energy work, like really to meditate and things like that. Yeah, this is just from my side. I think I'm just starting this kind of journey here. Yeah, but this is a bit of feedback from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having the courage to raise your hand and come on. I feel like, you know,
one more thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And what's the part of the men now? Because I just see women here again. So I was thinking, oh, let's see. So I'm living in the UK. I'm originally from Germany, so I was thinking to go into a dad's group here for with autistic children. So that was coming into my mind too, because I think it's just different, maybe to be together with men, talking about things, maybe talking about relationships too. I think relationships is a very, very big thing in terms of autistic children, and how do you just do your relationship and things like that. Okay, but it was just another.
Yeah, no,
impulse.
Thank you for bringing up that, because you know, most of the people who are involved in helping their kids are the women, because the man's out earning a living, and or you know, men in our society are just not as encouraged to be emotional or relationship oriented. You know, they're a little bit more repressed due to the nature of male female in our society. And I appreciate your you know, who you are, because I can tell even the Buddha statue, and you said you're in energy work and you're really interested in this. And we have some dads who are, and when I have my sessions, sometimes both parents come, but it's mostly the woman for sure. So that's you know, maybe part of your role is to bring the dads more forward. And there's one more thing I wanted to say about your daughter who's 12 and going through puberty. Puberty can be a time when I've noticed when kids with autism get better because the hormone changes make things better, or it can be a time when kids get worse because the hormone changes make things just really disrupt things even more. So I'm sure you're probably working with a good practitioner who can address that, because that's important.
Not really, but yes, we're starting to work on that.
Yeah. And I think what you brought up for me too is that, you know, I was trained as a scientist and molecular biologist. I was involved in sequencing the human genome and, you know, in an indirect way. And so for me, I come from science, and then I got trained in energy healing. So I kind of have both, walk between the worlds is what I call it. And I believe there's so much more, you know, scientists believe in what's factual and what's in front of you. And there's so much more beyond that. There's so much that we don't understand, that we can't see, that's in the energy realms, that, you know, if we keep our blinders on, we won't see it. But if we open our minds more, we go, oh yeah, there's so much more. So I feel like in helping our kids, we really need to take both approaches. You know, some parents have mentioned they've done the biomedical and the supplements and everything. And I think that's an important piece, because like I said, I feel like kids come into these toxic bodies and they don't, and it's a combination of family and genetics and environmental and a lot of things. It's not only toxicity, but that's a big piece of it. So So that needs to be handled, but also I don't think we should ignore the energetic spiritual aspects of it. So I appreciate that you guys who are here today are looking at that and interested in that. So thank you so much for being here. Any last comment? If anyone has anything, we'll take one more and then we'll wrap it up. Give you a few seconds. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you, and you guys are, you and your kids are paving the way. Like I think Kathy said, you know, you're really paving the way and helping to show others what's possible. So I appreciate you, and thank you so much. All right, bye, everyone.